I'm Lee, and this is my podcast about my handmade life. Primarily about socks this week. I seem to have been on a bit of a sock bender. Anyway, you can find me on Instagram as Luli_, and on Ravelry as Luli. I sell knitting bags at Shop Luli on Etsy, but you can find links to all of my online places at luli.com. We're going away for the weekend and we're leaving at about lunchtime, and I have a few things that I need to get done before we go, but I really wanted to come and have a little chat with you before I tootled off. So it's so nice to have you here in the factory, sharing my week in sock knitting with you. So the first thing I have to talk about is the socks that I started for the oldest along, which is a cowl that we have running in the Luli Ravelry group. And the aim of that cowl is to knit your oldest stash or the oldest unknitted pattern in your library or your oldest whip or something like that. So if you want to come and join us, it's running till the end of October. Then pop over to the Ravelry group and join in. However, I have started my my sock. I haven't started it with my oldest stash. Let me pull out the oldest one. So this was the oldest thing that I had in my stash, and I have decided to put it together with this blue and have orange and blue stripy socks, which is going to be great fun. I just reach over and make sure that that's focused. Actually, I don't even think that's blowing out. That's pretty much as orange as it is. And the other thing that I was trying out were these 25 centimetre asymmetrical circulars. I'm not a big fan. They're from Addy, and these are 2.5 millimetre. Do my focusing thing again. I'm not a big fan of the tips on Addy needles, and I'm still onto the rib. I think this might be a different experience once I get onto the stocking stitch. So yeah, the jury is still out with these needles. I shall let you know how I get on. So yes, that's what I'm doing for the oldest along, and if you want to join in, come and pop over and post a picture of what you're using. Actually, I should post a picture of this in the group as well. I have to remember to do that today. Post a picture of what you're doing. There's a finished objects thread, and you could win one of my Christmas bags. It would be lovely to have you along. And I'm being joined by my little dogs. Hi! Lay down. Go on the couch. They've decided to have a game in here. So the next pair of socks that I have to show you are for a little swap that I'm doing. I was talking to Amy from the Periscoping Sisters, and if you watch their podcast, you'll know that she tends to use patterns for inspiration rather than a sort of like a formula that she has to follow. And so we decided to do a little swap where we would knit the cuff and the leg and the ankle of a sock and then send them off to each other. We have the same size feet, fortunately, and I think we knit to a similar gauge by the sound of it too. So yeah, so we're going to swap a pair of partly finished socks and then finish them off ourselves and just see how they turn out. So I have been using some lovely yarn which is called Illumination, and it's by Unbelievable. I'm not sure, this card is quite small, so I'm not sure you'll be able to see it all that well. So I have got down to the heel of the first sock, and I'm nearly there on the second sock as well. I'm going to hold them up now, but I'm not going to describe them because Amy, if you're watching, you should look away now. So this is the first one. And if I just make the camera focus, you might be able to see what I've been doing. But it's been lots of fun just to try out different things. So yeah, the yarn is so pretty and a little bit sparkly, so they will be disco socks. Yeah, so that's been really good fun. And I've got the other one here. These leather cozies are something that I have in my shop and I really like them. It smells really good too. Yeah, so I just have to do a little bit more of the leg on that and then they'll be ready to go in the post. So you may not actually see these again unless you watch the Periscoping Sisters podcast. It'd be really interesting to see how Amy finishes them off. The last thing I started this week was a pair of cinema socks because on Tuesday the hairy man turned up in the factory with some cinema tickets and said we're going out tonight, and I realised that I didn't have anything that was truly just vanilla that I could go around and around on in the cinema. So of course I had to start something new. So I cast on a pair of these socks, and I'm making them for the hairy man's step granddaughter. So yeah, these are a smaller size. She's just started to wear adult size socks. And I'm using this, this is vintage Twisted Limone that I got ages and ages ago, which is just lovely. And she's doing some marvellous things with her newer yarns as well. I keep trying to haunt her updates, but they tend to be on a Saturday and I miss them while I'm in the garden or something. But anyway, this yarn is just lovely and it's so fun. I had used the ball to make a pair of tube socks for my niece. And what I've decided to do with these, I've got a little contrasty yarny bit here. And then I think I've got about 60 grams of yarn. And so I did the contrast cuff. And basically I'm going to keep these in the car and just knit straight on until I run out of yarn or come to the end of the last stripe, and then knit another cuff. And then I'm going to cut them in half and put in heels and toes and all that paraphernalia in the contrasting yarn. So that should give me a really nice pair of fun, maybe knee-high socks. I don't know, I'll see how I get on and how long they get. So yeah, and of course it's great fun. You're knitting away in the dark in the movies and then the lights come up and you can see how much you've done. But I've decided to keep this in the side pocket of the car because I tend to find we'll be going out somewhere and all of a sudden I don't have, or we'll be going to the cinema or something and I don't have anything, a vanilla thing to knit on. So I have made myself a little sort of kit, I suppose, just to keep in the hairy man's car. So I've got these on 2.5 mil Chalgo interchangeable needles, which I really like. And in my little kit, I've got the yarn ready to go. And then I've got a few patterns in here actually. I've put in my favourite socks pattern just for the sizing of different adult size socks to get the sort of like length measurements and how many stitches to cast on and such. And then I've also put in Laura Linneman's Afterthought heel sock pattern, which I think is free on Ravelry. I have done an Afterthought heel before, but it was quite a long time ago, and a lot of people have said that they've been using this quite successfully. So I put that in there for when I come to the heel. And then I have also put in here Jane Richmond's tube sock pattern, so that if I'm casting on something, I've got all the numbers for children's tube socks there as well. And in here I have a tape measure, so if I do come to separating out the socks, I've got that there. I doubt I would do that in the car, but if you're just away from home, I just want to know that I've got everything. And then I also have, I put in a quick unpick to use as a yarn cutter, because I find that if I'm having to sort of like cut a stitch to unravel a section, to split my knitting apart fore and after thought heel or something like that, I find it quite easy to get a quick unpick. Well, that's what I call these, a seam ripper. I find it quite easy to get that into the stitch and to just snag it up a bit, and then to break the yarn. And so I've put this in as a yarn cutter. The camera is probably not focusing on that as I jiggle it about. But anyway, you know what a seam ripper looks like. Well, maybe you don't. You might not be a sewist. So yeah, so I put a seam ripper in there. And then handily, in the little casey section of the seam ripper, I can fit a little darning needle. So I have that in there as well. So I have everything I need to finish off a pair of socks in my little bag. And then I decided, just in case, I should put backup yarn in the car as well. Just in case. Yeah, so this is some Desert Vista dye work that I was gifted quite a long time ago in a really generous swap that I did. And it came in a skein and I had caked it up, but I decided that it was more fun as a gobstopper ball. So I rewound it into that. So when I have finished my twisted limone, I can cast straight on with this, and I'll do the same thing. I'll knit a cuff and then just knit the whole ball and knit another cuff and split it up into socks. So yeah, and that colourway is Summertime. Did I say it was Desert Vista Dye Works? Which is not something we get here very easily, so that was really fun. And I'm quite excited to cast that on eventually. I'll put it back in its plastic bag for safety, in case you spill your coffee or something. Yeah, I think that's all from me for today in my sock binge. It's been lovely to chat with you. If this is your first time, I hope you enjoyed yourself. It's been lovely to have you here, and I hope you come and join us in the Ravelry group. That would just be brilliant. And I shall see you next week. Cheerio!